It's hardly a secret that the industry is in love with HD remasters and remakes recently, some of them good, some of them bad, and some of them just mediocre. But it seems that EA has no interest in re-releasing its old games, according to EA COO Peter Moore when he spoke to IGN, saying, quote, "It feels like pushing stuff out because you've run out of ideas." And then he went on to say, quote, "Remakes, because of who we are and this broad portfolio of intellectual property, you add all that together. I don't know where we find the time to do remakes. We're a company that just likes to push forward." And he went on to admit that, of course, remakes are pretty convenient for any company that decides to do them, assuming you don't do a complete overhaul, like for example with the Metro Redux collection and Last of Us. You know, some remakes, some remasters, they put in a huge amount of work and there's a really massive difference. Some of them are just a coat of paint, it kind of depends. Regardless of that though, he said, quote, "For a lot of companies, remakes are a way to drive revenue. It's sub-cost, it's an IP that's there, you can remaster, and that's great. We don't do that here. I don't think that's ever been in our culture." Now these comments do seem a little rich coming from EA, given that of course they are pretty famous for having microtransactions, day one DLC, and all sorts of insidious practices over the years. Now while EA have kind of turned around a little bit and aren't quite the, you know, incarnation of evil on the mortal plane that they once were, they're still looked upon fairly poorly by most gamers, and for good reason. So it does make me laugh a little bit that they're making comments like this. Personally, I'm not against remasters, I just think that it's being done a bit much, and I think it's being done for games that don't really need it. For example, the whole Prototype one, I was like, what? I didn't even realise it was coming out until it was basically out because of the complete lack of marketing, and then when it came out, I kind of saw why there'd been marketing, because they'd somehow made it worse, which is just hilarious. For games like, say, The Last of Us, I completely agreed with that. Metro Redux, that was an awesome remaster. And there are some that are literally just a coat of paint, which is a little disappointing. For example, God of War 3 Remastered was a bit of a disappointment. It improved the frame rate, which is great, but other than that, there wasn't much difference. So I think it really depends on the remake, to be honest. I don't know if you've done it because you run out of ideas. If the game is old enough to warrant a remake, then that's not necessarily the case. Just giving fans a new way to play it, especially if they might not have played the original due to not having that platform. But of course, I'd love to hear some thoughts from you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.